Nothing.
Do you want to pay?
I have minus $0 on me.
I want to get paid now.
Well, I was curious, what show is that from?
Conan the Barbarian.
Conan. Oh, yeah. Okay. Isn't he the governor of California? No. He doesn't have to. His brain says it all. He doesn't have to dress like that. So, how is everybody?
Good.
Have you had a good weekend? I've had about 3 hours of sleep. Oh, okay, so we're on the same wavelength here. Good. So I can't promise anything coherent coming from me today, but I will do my best. What was that? Oh, the last time at Toronto Trek. Yes, it's been about 9 years, I guess, 8 or 9 years. So, are you going to ask questions, or do you want to hear jokes? I don't do jokes, anyway. I can strip tease or something. I'm too old for that now. Yeah, please, you.
Yeah, I first seen you in Lone Wolf McQuaid, and you were starred with David Carradine and Chuck Norris.
No, that was Eric Estrada. No, yeah, okay, go ahead. He was stumped. He was like, I almost had you. Okay, yes?
What was it like to work with those two actors?
I'm sorry?
What was it like to work with those two actors?
David Carradine and Chuck? Kind of like being in an episode of Twilight Zone. Well, there was a funny story. You know, David Carradine really thinks he can do karate, but he's not very good. So during the shoot, David Carradine and Chuck's stuntmen were rehearsing the big showdown at the end. How many have seen that film? All the guys. Oh, and one woman. Okay. So they have a big karate showdown at the end. Carradine and Chuck Norris. Well, when they were rehearsing this, David Carradine was actually working with Chuck's stuntmen, and he was knocking them out in rehearsals. I mean, he was hitting them for real. And Chuck and I were in between scenes one day, and his captain of the stuntmen came up to him. I was right there listening to the whole thing. He goes, Chuck, I don't know how to say this, but yeah, David just knocked out Sam. And Chuck was, what? Yeah, he's not pulling his punches. He really knocked out Sam. And Chuck said, that's crazy. That's crazy. And the guy says, yeah, and yesterday he knocked out Bill. I said, what? Yeah, and the day before he knocked out Eddie. And Chuck was like fuming, right? He says, you tell David, if he hits another one of my guys, I'll kill him. Needless to say, no incident after that. There were no more knockouts. So it was very interesting being there and watching those guys. Two completely different personalities and ways of working, and but both very nice men and very honest. I remember a journalist asking Chuck. He said, "What is your opinion of David Carradine? He must be a really great karate expert, right?" And Chuck said, "Well, let's put it this way. David's about as good in karate as I am in acting." So, you know, it was my first film on location in El Paso, Texas, and I was there for about 8 weeks. We would go into one night, me, Chuck, Barbara Carrera, and some of the other actors on the show went into Juarez across the border, and we got wasted on so many things. And Barbara knew that I was sick, and so she said, "Robert, if you would like to stay with me tonight, I could nurse you." No, I'm serious, and I was like, I would love to have, but I was really sick, and I was afraid I was going to like heave ho in her, you know, in her room. So I said, I better not, Barbara. I better go to my own room. But I'm so sorry. So it was a fun, eventful time. And anybody not speak English? French? Anybody speak French only? Vous comprenez? Okay, then I won't speak French. Because I can't. So, yes. Hope that answers your question. Yes, ma'am.
When you were doing the TV show, were you recognized a lot, and are you recognized, you know, today?
Yeah, I guess so. Occasionally I would go shopping at the supermarket and somebody would be following me around, you know, surreptitiously behind me, going, watching what products I was buying. And he likes ivory shampoo or something. So occasionally you would have a strange incident once in a while. I remember I was signing autographs at one show, and this German woman, I noticed from several other shows that I'd done, and so I signed her photo and I recognized her, and I said, "Hope to see you again." And she said, "Oh, you do?" And I said, "Yeah." And she walked away, you know, like those, when you're over here and somebody's walking that way, but they go like this, "Oh." Walking backwards, you know. I'm looking at her like, it's just a common phrase. I mean, well, she showed up at my front door a few months later. And I said, "What are you doing here?" "But you said you wanted to see me again."
What happened, man?
Well, you know, I had to scare her to, you know, to sort of make the point, because she was not quite getting it. She was, "Oh, but I'm only here. It's no problem." I said, "No, it's a problem." Because she had some stranger bring her to my house, and actually had him come to my door, ring the bell, and when I answered the door, he said, it was like a Mexican immigrant or Guatemalan or somebody, and he said, "There is a woman who wants to speak with you." I said, "What?" "Yeah, she's right out there. She wants to speak with you." And I said, "Okay, tell her to come." And she comes walking down the stairs. "Hi, Robert." And that's when I told her that I had a shotgun, and if she would leave my property, I would blow her brains out. I mean, you have to scare people like that, you know? Otherwise they think you're a complete patsy. What's that?
So they're taking the gun out.
Is that Charlton Heston? Yes.
Which cast from Voyager did you like working with?
There was only one cast. I had no choice. Which of the cast did I enjoy? Well,
Jerry Ryan.
she was all right. Well, you know, I remember early on, before we really got to know each other, people, journalists would ask the actors, which one do you like working with the best? And I remember Kate always answering, oh, I love the Doctor. I love working with Bob Picardo. And I'm like, jeez. You know, because I was brought up with manners, you know, so you don't like. And even though I may have had a favorite, I would never have said that, you know, to make the other guys feel bad, you know. But she's the captain; she can do whatever she wants. So I really had an equal amount of fun with each and every one of them. The Canadian answer? That's funny about Canada, you know, because my grandparents are from Mexico, and my granddad had a saying, it's actually well known in Mexico. The saying was, poor Mexico, so far from God and so close to the United States. And I used to go out with a Canadian woman, and I made up a similar saying. I said, poor Canada, it's so fucking cold. Sorry, children. Yes.
What was it like being directed by Jonathan Frakes?
What was it like being directed by Jonathan Frakes? I had very little to do in that episode, but he's always very full of energy. You know, I think the one or two scenes that I had were later in the day, so I didn't have to show up early in the morning, and he gets there. The directors have to get there probably about 5, 6 in the morning to prepare. But when I showed up on the set to start rehearsing the scene, he was like, "Okay, Robert, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put you here. Kate's gonna be here, and action." So it was real quick, and because of that, he's one of my favorite directors. Let me get somebody else, okay? Yes?
There's a massive Voyager WPS9. Do you feel you guys are kind of getting ripped off because you're not getting a movie out of it?
Do the Voyager people feel we're getting ripped off because we're not getting a movie out of it?
I think you guys should, but they kind of skipped over it.
Hey, look, if they were going to use the same writers to write the movie, we're happy about not doing a Voyager movie. I mean, you know, I don't think we're missing much. Yes?
In one of the, in the first episode actually, there's a pretty well-known blooper with you and Kate in the shuttlecraft just going into giggles. I was wondering what triggered all that.
Can you guys hear?
No.
Well, there's a microphone here. I wonder if we can make use of it, or is it just for show? Typical Canadian way of doing things. Hey, I am so happy you guys are our 51st state, okay? Okay, it's taped down. Because, you know, they might get stolen or something. No, it's okay. Thank you. So the question was...
There was a blooper on the first...
Oh, there's a blooper of me and Kate giggling?
Yeah, in the shuttlecraft, I believe her words were, time to beam the ship down to the ship, that something along those lines, and you just keep going into giggles over and over on it.
Well, there's a popular myth that I was the one actor on the show that flubbed the most lines. Actually, it wasn't so much myth. But we all did. Except for Kate. And It's because she was forced, because of all the line load that she had to carry, she was forced to study, 4 or 5 hours a night before she showed up on the set the next day. So she was very well prepared. But oftentimes the writers would not get the new episode to us until like the night before we were to shoot it. So let's say Sunday night, you'd be waiting for the script, 10 o'clock, 10 p.m., 11, 12, 1 o'clock, you fall asleep. And then you hear the doorbell ring and the script arrives, right? And so I was not going to get up and learn my lines. At that moment, anyway. I was going to do the best I could over coffee when I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? So, consequently, I had to have somebody be there on book often, but it wasn't because I didn't. It was a choice of going to work with no sleep at all, or going to work and learning the lines during rehearsal and all that stuff, and I chose the latter choice. So the writers would often come to the set, and I think after the second year I had done production of Hamlet. I directed it and played Hamlet, and all of the producers and the writers came to see it. So the next year they would come to the set and I'd be, having problems with the lines or whatever. And I remember Brandon Braga asking me, or saying, "Gee, Robert, it's kind of hard to let you get by with flubbing all those lines when we went and saw you do Hamlet. You didn't flub any lines then." And I said, "Well, Brandon, write like Shakespeare and I'll bother to learn the lines." I always liked giving it to Brandon. But the only reason why Jerry 7 and 9 and Chakotay got together was because one morning in the dressing room, in the makeup chair. Jerry was next to me, and I said, "Jerry, you and I will never have any kind of romantic or even friendship on the show because Brandon Braga is a jealous asshole." And she goes, "I'm going to tell him you said that." And I said, "Dude, tell him. Tell him I said he doesn't have the balls to write a romantic scene between you and me." She goes, and she's laughing, right? "I'm going to tell him that." And so, consequently, we were thrown together at the last couple of episodes of. But if I hadn't said that, I probably would have ended up with Harry Kim or something. Yes, ma'am.
For so many seasons, we saw the friendship of Janeway and yourself getting to the point where you were finally marooned. Hopefully, I was hoping for some romance sparking.
Some. I thought you said sub-romance.
And then you get rescued and never again, were the writers never thinking of linking you together?
No, it's just shortly after that, Jerry Taylor left the show, and we were stuck with the morons that were, So, that's what happened. Jerry Taylor left the show. Michael Piller had left the show, and we were stuck with these, adolescents writing episodes.
Well, it was obvious. I was rooting for you.
Thank you. Yes, King Kong. Conan, right. I get my shows mixed up. Yes. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding you.
Say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how much input and influence you had into the development and progression of the Chakotay character. How much you gave and how much was just from the writing?
How much input in the Chakotay character did I have?
Yeah, the development.
Yeah. Well, early on, I called Jerry Taylor, and I said, Jerry, you know who Jerry Taylor is, right? One of the, okay, co-producers of the show. And I called her and I said, look, why don't we make Chakotay from a tribe south of the border, like Mayan. They were great astronomers, they searched the skies, they were great mathematicians, and physicians, what do you call them? Physicists, yes. And she said, that's a good idea. And so she did that. So that was about all. But I was happy with that. The other thing was that before we even started shooting anything, I had a meeting with the producers again, and we were discussing hair, and I said, they were actually wanting me to have my hair probably maybe as long as I have it now, with a wig, right? So I said, God, that's so cliche. Red man, long hair. Can I carry a spear too? I said, I really prefer to I'd prefer to have short hair. And so that's the way it happened. And really, I think those were the only two things that I had any input. Of course, during the course of the 7 years, I would call them up occasionally and say, that scene you wrote, what the? Well, what's wrong, Robert? I said, all I would say is, what the? And they go, oh, okay, we'll rewrite it. So, no, I wasn't like Bob Picard. I would sit up late at night, right? You know, he would lose sleep, think about, how can I steal the scene from, how can I get them to write another scene for me? I've got a scene with Mr. Beltran. I'll have to find a way to steal that. And because I decided I would rather get some sleep, but Picard was always, But he made a big mistake when he came up with the idea of the mobile emitter, where he could leave the sick bay. Because then he had a couple of scenes on the bridge, which were like scenes that we all dreaded because it lasted all day, and it was all about, Captain, what was it? Shields down to 40%, and you're bombarded, and you have to go. By the end of the day, you're walking around and go, I'm going to sue these bastards. So his first day on the bridge, he was like, I can't believe this. You guys have to do this every week? Maybe my mobile emitter idea wasn't such a good idea. I said, Bob, you're right, it wasn't a good idea. So sometimes he dug a little hole for himself. Back there. Yes.
What was your favorite part about being Chakotay?
My favorite part of being Chakotay. Well, one of them was that it only took me about 20 minutes to get into makeup. That was really nice, especially when you'd see Roxanne and Ethan Phillips literally going nuts for 3 hours. I mean, they'd be in that chair and they'd be like, hi, Roxanne. Johnny Hyde, oh, shut up. That's all that, you know. So I was really happy that I only had 20 minutes of makeup. I think that might have been the most satisfying thing of the whole. Yes, sir. Describe what it was like working with John Delancey. It took me a while to warm up to John Delancey. Not because I didn't know him that well, first of all. But he's not that different from Q in real life. And so Garrett and I used to, make jokes about it. We would, Garrett and I would have Bob Picardo imitation contests, right? And the crew would, flashcards. That was a 9, Garrett. Beltran, that was a 10. But once I got to know John, he's a great guy. And his son actually did an episode. And I don't think John Delancey quite warmed up to me at the beginning either, because I don't know, he must have thought I was some kind of macho jerk or something, but when his son came on and worked with us, I helped him out a little bit because he was a little green, and his son said, "That Robert Beltran is a nice guy." And so the next time I saw John, he was like, "Robert." Where he got this English accent, I don't know. He's from Idaho or something. No, Robert, thank you very much for helping my son. And he said you were wonderful, and I really appreciate it. And so we became friends. And he's a great guy, very talented. Yes?
What's your favorite episode of Star Trek Voyager?
What's my favorite episode of what show? Star Trek Voyager. My favorite episode. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I liked the episode with Virginia Madsen. Do you mind?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's a good one.
You do mind?
No.
Oh, okay. That was my favorite one. It was called Unforgettable. Very forgettable, I guess.
That's good.
It was about the girl, the alien, that makes you forget that you even knew her. Right. No, we didn't use pencils, did we? Yeah. Ancient artifacts, pencils. Next. Anybody? Yes, I'll get back to you. Yes.
What were you always doing on the folding console next to your chair?
Playing tic-tac-toe. Well, funny thing, talk about the myth of me being the one screwing up the lines the most. I actually had the professional duty, I thought, to not paste my dialogue on the console. Well, one day, this is about into the 4th or 5th year, I go behind and I surprised Tim Russ, who was always letter perfect, and he's got the entire script. Page 1, page 2, page 3. And so he would always choreograph his Captain. The aliens are. You notice he hardly ever looked up once he was, well, he's reading the damn thing. And so, I caught him. And I said, "Tim, you bastard." I was like, "What do you mean, Beltran? What do you mean? What do you mean? You're reading your words, you're reading your lines." He goes, "Oh man, that's just for refreshing my memory." I said, "Bullshit!" And so, Harris used to do the same thing, Garrett used to do the same thing. And here I am, struggling at night, trying to learn this crap techno-babble, right? So I said, okay, that's the way to go. So I pasted my dialogue right there. And so, it was very simple. It was like, "Captain, the dilithium crystals are now turning pink and blue." It was very simple after that. Unless, late in the day, the tape got old and your dialogue fell, and I'd have to say things like, "Oh, cut, my performance just fell off." So, yes?
I've noticed that you've done a lot of Shakespeare. Would you ever consider coming up and doing some here in Stratford?
Stratford?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. As long as I didn't have to work with Patrick Stewart. Hello, Robert. So you want to do Shakespeare? Not the way you do it, Patrick. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, yes.
We thought it was great seeing you in Lois and Clark. Did you enjoy that?
You saw me in Lois and Clark?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Did I enjoy it? No, I didn't enjoy it. I don't enjoy doing guest starring roles on shows. Because you're walking into a family set and squabbles are happening, and you're like, if you talk to somebody, then they're going, oh, he's of the so-and-so faction, you know. So there's a lot of internal politics happening, and as I remember when guests used to come on our show, it was like, it was almost a hassle having to meet them and talk with them, because you just want to get there and do the job and get out, you know, so you can get your life back. And so I don't particularly like doing any kind of guest starring roles. I usually have to be browbeaten by my agents, or I have to do a favor to a producer that would help me years ago, you know, or some casting person, and that's generally the only way I'll do one. Because it can be kind of brutal, especially if they don't like you, if they decide they don't like you, you know, like the lead doesn't like you. But I remember once we had an episode, the guest star, the poor guy, was in an all-brown outfit. I think it was called Night, or some awful episode where this little brown thing was darting in and out of the Jeffries tubes and the corridors and all this stuff. And all of us were like cracking up. And it was mean, but it wasn't meant to be mean to the poor guy, you know, because it was like a big break for him. But he looked so funny in that little brown outfit, you know, it was like a... So it got really, really ridiculous, and one of the crew members says, while the guy was there, he goes, "Oh, so you must be the captain's log." And the poor guy was like, we were all like, "Don't talk like that to our guest actor." We're all cracking up. So it's no fun doing episodic, guest star episodic stuff. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of scared to ask this in the Star Trek crowd, but could you talk a bit in general about the Paul Bartel films you made? And if that's not sci-fi enough, maybe Night of the Comet?
The Paul Bartel films. Anybody know what he's talking about?
Okay, sorry, skip to that.
That was a long time ago. Anybody know Night of the Comet?
Yeah.
How many? Should I bother talking about it? Those of you that don't know it? Okay.
It's funny.
It's what?
It's funny.
Oh, it's funny. Well, let me get my Night of the Comet jokes out here.
And you said you
So one day I go up to the... I remember watching William Shatner early on in one of my first conventions. And he was like, you know, performing for the audience. And I'm like, wow, man, that guy, he really gives his all to his audience. Well, and I mentioned that to, I was sitting in the back of the theater, and I mentioned that to some you know, person attending the convention. And he goes, yeah, isn't that wonderful? He does that same speech every convention I've gone to. And I'm like, oh my God. So I don't do set speeches. But anyway, what was the question? Night of the Comet. Night of the Comet was a film that was offered to me shortly after I did a film called Eating Raoul. And they had written the role to be Raoul, an extension of the Raoul character. And so I read it and I turned it down. And then the producers wanted to have a meeting with me, so I met with them and they said, what's the problem? I said, well, I've already done Raoul. Why would I want to do that again? They said, but it's funny, don't you think it's a funny script? And I said, it could be funnier if it wasn't written like Raoul. And they said, well, you know, will you do it for us? I said, no, I'm sorry, I've already done it. I'd rather do something else. So I left the meeting, they called my agent and they said, they offered more money. And so I said, no, I'm not interested. They offered more money. I said, no. They offered more money and they wanted to have a meeting. So I went back and they said, we'll give you top billing. I said, yeah, but I'm still doing Eating Raoul Part 2. It doesn't make any sense. And they said, well, what do you want to do with the character? I said, well, look, it's the end of the world. He's one of the only guy, as far as we know, left on the planet. Let's make him Gary Cooper. You know, why does he have to be Raoul? I've already done that. Let's just make him everyman. And they're like, yeah, what do you think? No. And they said, okay, we'll do that. And so I said, well, if you guys are willing to do that and give me top billing, for really what was a supporting role. I mean, the two girls really had the leads. So I said, we'll do it. So I signed on, and the first cast meeting, the director was talking to everybody in the cast. And we've got Robert Beltran playing whatever his name was in the movie. And he goes, you know, Robert, if you hadn't done this film, we were going to get just a regular American guy to play the role. I said, Tom, I was born in the United States. I am a regular American guy. He goes, oh, no, that's not what I mean. You know what I mean. He says, regular, you mean a white guy? And he was like, oh, okay, let's read the script. Anyway, so I'm glad I stuck them for more money and top billing, and you know, so they did, so he did. Anything else? Anybody else? Have you? Yes. Go ahead. What sold me on the Chakotay character and made me want to do Voyager? Honestly, it was the fact that Geneviève Bujold was the captain. She was the original captain, and I wanted to work with her. You know, in a dog show, I would have worked with her. So that was the main thing. I wanted to work with her, and I liked the pilot episode, the 2-hour pilot movie. And that's all I had to go on. Genevieve was going to be the captain. I was going to be the captain's number 1. The pilot was written pretty well. Of course, we still had Jerry Taylor and Michael Piller. So that's what sold me on it. Besides the fact that they, offered me the role, because you still have to go and audition for these things. So that's what did it. But I had no inkling of what Star Trek was, or I never used to watch it, and so it was all a new experience for me. And when I told friends that I had gotten a regular series lead on Star Trek, they were like, "Whoa! You're going to be on the bridge! You're going to..." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" "Yeah, you're the first officer. You're going to be like Jonathan Frakes and Leonard Nimoy." And I'm like, "What?" So I had no idea what I was getting into. In fact, my first contact with anything Star Trek, this was years before Voyager. I auditioned for one of the Star Trek movies that Leonard Nimoy was directing. It was for a Klingon captain. And I had no idea what a Klingon was. They didn't send me the whole script, they just sent me my scene, right? So I was like, what's a Klingon? I didn't know. All I knew it was a military thing, Klingon, playing some guy named Kukla Fran and Ollie or something. I don't know what he, but so I go to the audition, which was at Leonard Nimoy's house in Beverly Hills. Pretentious asshole. I don't care if he doesn't like me. So anyway, I go into this big parlor, and he's got a big round table, and there's literally about 12, 15 people sitting with one chair for the auditioner, right? And so, you know, I'd worked on the scene, and I sat down, and Leonard was like, "Hello, do you have any questions?" I said, "No." "Well, actually, yes, I do. What's a Klingon?" And I was dead serious. And he just looks at me, he does this. "Shall we just read?" And so, right away, I know I have no chance to ever get that role, right? So, and now I've got like this angst in my, it's like, I don't even care about this damn thing. So I'm reading the thing, and who are these assholes sitting around me, judging me? I don't even give a shit. My name was a punk. I wish he was 30 years younger, I'd beat his ass. So I finished the scene, and he's like, "Thank you." I'm walking out, and everybody's waiting next to the pool, his grandiose pool at his home, right, in Beverly Hills. And a buddy of mine, who I'd acted with and studied, done classes with, was waiting to go next to read for the same role, right? And I said, "Hey, John, what the is a Klingon?" He looked at me and said, "You just auditioned for Leonard Nimoy and you don't know what a Klingon is?" Well, the room where I auditioned one of those sliding doors with just the screen there, and so I didn't realize that they could hear our conversation. And I said, "You know what? Fuck Leonard Nimoy. Fuck Star Trek. They can kiss my ass. Fuck a Klingon. I don't give a shit." And he's laughing his ass off, my buddies. "I can't believe he did that." So I happened to turn around, and they were all looking at me, all those guys in the table. I said, "John, I think I better go." That was my first. Sorry about the bad language, kids. Don't listen to your elders, just do what they say. Something like that. Yes, sir.
Across your career, is there a favorite romantic scene you've done?
Across my career, is there a favorite romantic scene? Romantic scenes are really hard to do because you've got these. Most guys on the crew are pretty uninterested in the work of the actor. You know, they might watch the scene most of them just do their work, they set it up, and they go have coffee while you're doing the scene, right? But if you're having a romantic scene with a good-looking actress, then they're all there, you know. So it's a little weird, you know, having the guys salivate while you're doing a scene with. So they're no fun. And I've had my share, I guess, of romantic scenes, but I don't like them that much. I remember I was doing a scene with Sybil Shepherd in this TV movie called Stormy Weathers, I think it was called. And we were working on this scene, and then all of a sudden she goes, "Wait 1 minute, Robert." She goes to the director, and I hear whispering. I don't know what they're saying, but the director comes to me and he goes, "Robert, I don't know how to say this, but Sybil wants you to, at the end of the scene, just before, she wants you to, kiss her on the rump. Because we were doing two versions. We were doing the American version and then the version that we're going to sell in Europe. Seriously. So I knew that we were going to be doing two versions. But I didn't realize that you could get away with that in Europe. So she's smiling behind him going, I'm like, sure, I'll kiss her ass. Let's go. Let's show them. That particular day stands out in my mind. Yeah.
All right. Your last episode of Voyager. I know that you got kind of reduced in your lines that last show.
How do you know? Were you there?
I actually heard, I think pretty much sure I read an interview or something that you had done on TV Guide.
Oh, TV Guide. They always tell the truth. No, go ahead.
Were you or the crew, the rest of the cast, disappointed or a little bit let down at that last episode and how it ended up? Like, I kind of felt left hanging at the end when you guys arrived back at Earth.
Well, let me ask you, how many of you were disappointed with the ending of Voyager? Good. 20%, maybe 15%. I was like beyond. We all were, except for Kate. Yeah, because she got to play two roles: old Kate and old and young Kate, and so she was having a great time, and the rest of us were kind of going. We couldn't wait for the show to end. Because that whole season, the producers they couldn't wait for our show, the Voyager, to finish the 7th season so they could now start working on their baby, Enterprise, where they wouldn't have any Gene Roddenberry influence at all. They could do whatever they wanted, Brannon Braga. So you see what happened with that little experiment. So yeah, we were all pretty much disgusted with the whole final season, I would say. Yes?
Whose decision was it to make, Super King? Because, you stop watching the show because, there are other people on deck, and I'm sure they have names, but I'm not really sure who they are anymore.
Who's that? What?
Well, it turned into the Kate show, and it was like...
Oh, you're saying that it got mostly written around Kate and the rest of us kind of faded in the background? So, did you feel that? That comes from Brannon and Rick Berman. See, there's a thing that people think that Jerry Ryan, and she's lovely and I really love her. She's a wonderful. I loved working with her. She's a lot of fun. But people have this misconception that she saved the show. Well, it's not true. Because from the 4th season down to the 7th, our ratings actually got worse and worse and worse. So that when we started the show, we were averaging maybe between 5 and 7. And then by the time we finished, we were in the 2s, the 1.9s, we were happy if we got a 3 or a 4 by that. So it's not true that she saved the show. The show was going down the tubes around the middle of the 4th season. So your question was, who did come? It had to be Brannon and Rick Berman that made those decisions of where each episode was going to, what they were going to focus on in each episode. Those last 3 seasons, it was the captain and 7 of 9 having the same scene. Go do this. No. Yes. No. You will do that. No. I insist. No. That was like the whole last 3 seasons of Voyager. The rest of us were kind of going, kind of time to go home now? Yes, ma'am.
What's your deciding factor for working on a project, and what projects are you working on now?
The deciding factor for me to be in a project. A decent script, first of all, decent character within that story. And that's really all I asked for. What was it?
Not money?
Well, money is important, of course, but you know, I did 7 years on Voyager, and I told my agents to stick it to them, you know, and my agent really enjoyed sticking it to them. So I'm not starving, you know. I can be choosy. It just happens to be a time in our industry where there's a lot of reality shows and terrible movies being made, so I don't have a great, so consequently, when something comes up that I want to do, I try really hard to get it, and I prepare and all that stuff, but my agents are a little, maybe a little, I would say, getting impatient with me because I keep turning down things that they want me to audition for. Because like I said, I'm not that crazy about doing episodic. I don't necessarily want to be in the next John Travolta film or the next, you know, they keep using the same 5 or 6 guys. If it's not John Travolta, it's Bruce Willis or, you know, some other right-wing asshole. So consequently, there is not a lot of choice right now. So I'm concentrating on my own projects and getting ready to do a pretty extensive season of theater starting in the spring at the Los Angeles Theater Center. But I do have a film coming out sometime this year called Patriotville. It's a comedy. And when we were shooting it, when I read it, it was very funny. After the director got a hold of it, I don't know what's going to happen, because we all wanted to kill him by the end of the episode. I mean, by the end of the movie. So I don't know what it's going to be, but it had a lot of potential to be very funny. Let's put it that way. It's called Patriotville. Yes. Yeah.
You were talking about how your agents try and make you pick the roles and all that.
Well, you know, they get 10% of everything you make, so they. Why did you do the cameo on CSI Miami? Because Nan Dutton, the casting agent, said, after I turned it down 5 or 6 times, said, I'm calling in my favor that Robert owes me. My agent was sweating bullets and desperate. Robert, please, can't you, it's just 1 day, please. And I'm, but I don't want to do it. He goes, look, come on, just, Robert, can you just do it for me? I mean, it got that silly. And so I said, all right, I'll do it. All right, let's do it. But I'm only 1 day, right? We're going to shoot all my scenes in 1 day. He goes, yes, they have assured me it's going to be 1 day and blah, blah, blah. So, that's why I did that. Have you asked a question? Okay, let me get someone that hasn't. Yes.
Do you keep in touch with the other castmates?
Do I keep in touch with the other castmates? The guys on the show get together, say, once every 2-3 months. We have dinner, and you know, we have about 4 or 5 hours of eating and drinking. And you know, Bob Picardo's wife lets him go out once a year. I'm really happy I worked with you guys. Otherwise, I'd be at home. It's one of the few reasons I had to get out. So the guys are really, really close. The girls, hear about us getting together, and like Jerry's like, I want to be there, I want to go, I want to be there. And we're like, Jerry, it's just guys, okay? It's just the guys. Oh, why can't I be there? But, Roxanne, why can't I be there? And Kate, I don't think any of us have really invited her. No, just because she's off, usually doing something. So it's just us guys, and we have a great time, and we keep very much in touch with each other. And Ethan and I will phone each other once in a while, and go off for about an hour on these non sequitur jokes, and Garrett Wong will call me, hey Beltran, let's go golfing, man. Let's go golfing in Hawaii. No, Garrett. Let's go golfing here. Tim, so we're all great friends. So we stick together. But one of these days we'll invite the girls and we'll throw them that bone. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
What has been one of your more interesting experiences at these conventions?
One of my more interesting experiences at a convention?
Yes.
Well, the very first convention I went to, I shocked the audience because I didn't know what a Borg was. Well, we hadn't run into the Borg on our show yet. And I never used to watch Next Gen, especially not the first series, the original series, with those ugly mustard costumes. As a kid, and I was like, turn the channel, hurry, it's William Shatner. So, it was a huge audience, maybe about 3,000 people, and they had microphones all over the place, so this guy got up and asked me a question. This was in Florida, where they can barely speak English, And he said, are you all going to have an episode with the Borg? I said, what? The Borg? You going to ever meet up with the Borg? And I had no idea what he was talking about. I said, what? And they're shouting, the Borg, he wants to go. The Borg, he wants to go. The Borg, he's talking about the Borg. I said, the Borg? What the hell? Are we ever going to get Bjorn Borg on the show? You want Victor Borga on the show? And they finally figured out that I wasn't pulling their leg. I had no idea what he was talking about. And so there was this huge laugh that must have lasted about 5 minutes. Everybody was cracking up, and I'm going, could you let me in on this? That must have been probably obviously it sticks out pretty vividly still, so. Yes?
Did you have any serious practical jokers on the set? Was there anyone who just caused a lot of trouble?
Serious practical jokers. We didn't do practical jokes. We joked around, we fooled around, we goofed around, and we drove first-time directors nuts. I mean, the ones that directed with us regularly got used to it. But I remember this one director throwing his hands up in disgust and said, "This is a madhouse!" And he walked away, This was at the time when Bob Dole was running for president and everybody was doing their Bob Dole imitation. I'm Bob Dole. Bob Dole. And so we were all doing this because we all loved Garrett, myself, Ethan, Tim, Robbie, Ricardo to a certain extent. We all loved doing other people, other actors, imitations and stuff. Bob, do the... I guess they all thought I did the best Bob Dole, but so I was like, I'm Bob Dole. And I would do this thing, but we're literally holding up, filming while we did these things, right? And so the director's going, and so we didn't have practical jokers because you know, practical jokes are fun once in a while, but they get old after a while. It's just on the impromptu kind of stuff that came up, like, you know, Ethan Phillips would walk on the bridge with his pants down. You know. Robbie used to do this fantastic gay person, and we always had visitors. I mean, there were always visitors. And Robbie would go, come on the set, you know. Oh, hi, Robert. I haven't seen you since last episode. And, you know, the visitors are going, especially if they weren't from Hollywood, or they're like, and I'm like, oh, Robbie, shut up and give me a cigarette, you old queen. And Garrett's like, oh, are you two fighting again? And the visitors are going, nothing against gays, you know, but it was fun, you know, fun stuff to do. So, actually, Kate had a visitor once that was, you know, a gay man and a good friend of hers, but we didn't know this, you know, we didn't know his sexual persuasion, so we were like, oh, Robbie, you look fabulous. So you dropped 30 pounds, you look wonderful. Bend over, let me see. And I'm sorry. And Kate's like mortified. She goes, come here. And we're all like, she goes, my friend is gay. Don't do that. And so we break the huddle and go, Robbie, I said that. Officers, how are you? I have to go, I guess. What a note to leave on. Hey, you know what? Canada is really a great country, and look, if you can break away from England and stay away from us, you'll be a lot better off. Okay?